training has both completely changed over the past few years, and it's actually stayed exactly the same. If you Google sleep training in 2026, you are going to find completely conflicting information. You are going to find opinion posts about sleep training and cry it out is horrible and cry it out is the best, and gentle sleep training is the best and gentle sleep training is the worst. You will literally find anything and everything on the So what we're actually going to do today is dive into what the actual recommendations are now. So here's what's changed. In 2026, this is what sleep training actually means. Gentle sleep shaping, responsive settling, gradual sleep independence, aka sleep training. So you see that depending on what you're reading on the internet, you're going to find different ways that people are wording sleep training. It's all the same. It's all under the umbrella of behavior modification. So what that means is that whether your child is put down in the crib and you close the door until morning and you are full on extinction sleep training, or if you have your baby in your bed with you or in the bassinet next to your bed, which is where they should be because let's be safe, and maybe you're feeding on demand all night long to avoid your child crying, it's still sleep training. You're still reinforcing certain behaviors and expectations around sleep. When I first started my business, I thought that honestly, I didn't think that sleep training would even have any negative reputation. So when I first started, I was like, oh, maybe I should use the word sleep coach instead of sleep training or sleep teaching and all of these different variations. And then I dug in my heels like a toddler and I said, no, it is all sleep training. And it doesn't matter how you word it or how you phrase your gentle approach. I use gentle strategies, but it's still sleep training. While I tried to adapt to this sensitive concept that sleep training has a harsh connotation and a lot of people jump to that means cry it out, I also want to stop spreading misinformation that sleep training only means cry it out, because it doesn't. Sleep training can be gentle. That is something in the 2026 era of sleep training culture that drives me absolutely insane, and I will die on this hill. Sleep training is sleep training, whether it is gentle or harsh. It doesn't matter, it's all sleep training. Anyways, the current recommendations around sleep and sleep training is that consistency matters more than the method that you use. So, like I just said, you're still sleep training, but the consistency in the method is more important than the actual method that you choose to use. What does that mean? It means that if you're using a very gentle hands-on method, you are consistently following the hands-on method strategies. There's also a lot more focus in this day and age on developmental readiness. Is your child ready for sleep training? It hasn't changed. The recommendations are still the recommendations. Not only that, we talk to the pediatrician. Every single client of mine talks to the pediatrician and asks, how many feedings do they need overnight? Can they sleep through the night? Am I cleared to sleep train my baby? Nobody is sleep training when our kid's not ready. And we are definitely not sleep training newborns. None of that has changed. Something that I do think has changed is that in 2026, we are so much more aware of mental wellness and making sure that the parents are in a positive mental state before sleep training, and especially during sleep training. Whether you are doing an intense, harsh, lots of crying sleep training method or a more gentle one, it's either going to take a very long time with little crying, or it's going to work very quickly and there's going to be a lot of crying. Either way, whichever end of the spectrum you lie on, it is important for parents to be mentally stable. I have been on in-home consultations where mom starts crying and she's really upset that her baby is crying, and really honing in and focusing on how she is feeling. Do you want to continue? Do you want to pivot? Making sure that mom and dad are mentally stable. And I've got to say that it has changed. Not only am I seeing more of a difference in making sure that parents are mentally okay now, but even 10 years ago when I started my business, I remember there was a family where mom couldn't handle any crying, but they knew that they needed to sleep train. So mom left, dad stayed home, and dad took care of it because mom just didn't want to be near it. And to an extent that does still happen, but more times than not, mom still wants to be present and taking care of herself mentally and emotionally, more so than just leaving and having it out of sight, out of mind. Another trend that I'm actually really glad about that has come more to the forefront in sleep training in recent years is that responsiveness does not mean endless reassurance and intervention. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that being responsive to your child does not mean that every single time they whimper, you are running into the room, giving them the pacifier, picking them up, putting them down, rocking them back to sleep, nursing them back to sleep. You are not doing that, but that doesn't mean that you're not responsive at all. It means that you can be responsive and set boundaries. Both can be true and both are true, especially here at Slumber and Bloom. A big shift that I've seen in the sleep training world is that there is less rigidity in just using one method. Something that I do in all of my sleep plans is combine methods, and that's perfectly fine. I am literally making charts for parents that are saying on nights 1 through 3, we're doing this method. On nights 4 through 6, we're doing this. It's less important to pick one method and stick with it from day one than it is to have a plan that you can be consistent with. I'm seeing a lot more problem solving, a lot more flexibility. This is all great stuff that I'm seeing in the sleep training world because it's important to be realistic. There's going to be nights where sleep is a mess. There's going to be nights where it's great. And being able to problem solve and be flexible instead of just letting everything spiral around you is so important. And that is one of the things I teach all of my families, that when the bad things happen, when the bad nights happen, when the naps get skipped, when the naps are short, when you're just off schedule, this is exactly how to troubleshoot. And that is so important to understand. Things that are still working that never went away is routines and consistency. I will say it until I am blue in the face. Consistency is everything. Routines are also everything. When your child knows what to expect and what comes next, they are going to adapt so much easier. Now, I'm going to say this lightly, okay? Wake windows still work. Now, if you have been around my channel or my Instagram page for long enough, you know that I am not a stickler on wake windows. I am more of a stickler on schedules and flexible schedules. Wake window math is exhausting. So yes, we still use wake windows, even though in the past 10 years, I will literally say that wake windows, that term, that concept has completely exploded. We are using wake windows to base the child's schedule off of. And within the schedule, there is a flexibility range. More things that have stayed consistent over the past million years of sleep training is that your environment needs to be conducive to sleep, that you are continuing to practice independent sleep skills and not just throwing in the towel. Once you commit to sleep training, you stick with the sleep training, and that your response to night wakings is always going to be consistent. What doesn't work with sleep training and what has never worked with sleep training is the waited out method. I cannot tell you, I mean, I probably could tell you, the number of parents who come to me saying, we just waited it out because we thought they were just going through a regression, or they were teething, or they were getting sick, or whatever. They kept waiting and waiting and waiting, and the sleep never improved. Waiting it out, if your child has been sleeping crappily for over, I mean, I want to say 2 weeks, but I will even give you leeway and say a month, you need to do something to fix it. If you're always changing your strategy, if you're always jumping in to rescue your baby, it's just gonna be a mess. These are things that have never worked with sleep training and they never will. So what you should do in 2026 and beyond in order to help fix your child's sleep, make sleep training work the first time, is to hire me as your sleep consultant. I mean, I feel like that would be a given considering you're watching this video, so obviously you can appreciate my sleep training tips and tricks. But if you're sick of trying to figure it out alone, just hire me. I will do a fully comprehensive sleep assessment and write you a customized sleep plan, walking you through the plan step by step. What is your child's schedule? What should their environment look like? What are they wearing to sleep? Where are they sleeping? How are they going to bed at bedtime? How are you handling middle of the night wake-ups? So what about naps? What about that flexibility? What about? I am there to answer every question, every step of the way. It's literally priceless. And you're giving your baby the gift of sleep that will last a lifetime. As long as you don't revert back to giving them assistance to sleep and to stay asleep through the night, you are teaching them a sleep skill that will last forever. So if you're ready to jump into a consultation, check out the link in the description box down below and in the comment section, and